Thank you, everyone, for being here. I feel very privileged for being part of this community and for having this space of sharing with you this project. I have been collaborating for the last maybe 4 years by now. Um, so it is very, very, very important and special for me because I'm very passionate about human mobility, that is migration. And it has been very difficult for me to start getting involved in these topics because I'm a designer, as most of you. And I don't know, like I think it was last year, 2 years ago, when we were in Geneva, and then when we met each other, we were discussing about sometimes like the problems that as designers sometimes we have with the stakeholders, because sometimes they think that we don't know, that we are not, um, but that because we don't have like I don't know, the proper name of a, I don't know, we haven't studied international relations or social sciences or things like that. We don't have the knowledge of how to get involved in these kind of projects. So it was very difficult for me at the beginning, because most of the people that the shelters and the international cooperation, they used to think that I didn't know anything about the topic, and it took me a while to get their confidence, to get them to know me and to get them to learn these amazing methodologies that are involved with design. So yeah, after maybe a year and a half, I started collaborating more with them, and then yeah, after understanding more their needs, I started suggesting some tools and some ideas in which all of the stakeholders could understand each other in a better way. And I think that that was how I was able at the end to contribute more. So pretty much, yeah, that's why this is very important and interesting. And more now that I know that most of you are not based in Latin America, but right now that these horrible narratives that we're receiving from the States have been well there, and have been influencing how the migration has been um, developing in the last months and in the last year. So I'm going to start introducing myself. I am a social innovation strategist, and I studied industrial design. Later, I got an specialization in social innovation. And for maybe 10 years by now, I have been working in social innovation projects related with climate change, human mobility, and rural community, and also peace building. And I I think that when I started knowing more about human mobility, I decided be to start studying more about the topic and get more involved. So that's why I decided to share today more about this specific experience. So, well, my inspirations comes from my mom. She was a doctor without borders, and um, was she used to be the doctor of an indigenous community in Guatemala in the middle of the war in the 1995, I think. So she was very passionate about humanitarian assistance, and that's how I started being more involved in these topics, and how I yeah, became that's how my passion began. So yeah, I think I started since I was very small. very little, I started helping her with her patients and knowing more about the importance of helping others and helping these refugees and migrants. But it was until 2019 that I had the opportunity to do an internship. I started working in a shelter. It was my first experience in Mexico City. It was very interesting because it was a shelter that used to protect youths, refugee youths, the youth that didn't know exactly how to develop their careers. So for a year, I did a research with the UNCHR in order to understand better the needs they had and to start creating collaboration with other institutions in order to provide them more educational opportunities. Later, in 2021, I started working with Circlo, that is a social innovation consultancy. I worked there for almost 3 years, and we developed many projects related to social innovations in Latin America, such as Ecuador, United States, with the government, with international cooperation. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. I learned a lot from all my peers. Most all of them were had more experience than me, so it was a good opportunity to learn more about the projects they were doing at that time. And there I met a person with whom I did the last project. His name is Gabo. I think he's not around, but maybe he's going to join us in at some point. Um, but well, I collaborated with Circlo, and then because of the pandemic and many things that happened, I moved to another city called Querétaro, and there I met some people working with a German corporation, and they started doing a project related to the integration of refugees and migrants in the city. And after having many conversations with them, they expressed like this urgency to start creating awareness about this topic in the universities, because at that time they were receiving many refugees in the universities, but because most of the students were not uh, aware of the topic, they the integration was very difficult. So I started this small little project with a friend of mine called Mintegra, in which we started doing participatory processes within the universities in order to co-create dynamics and different projects towards the integration of these refugees that were coming to Mexico at that time. And then the German cooperation, after many of the initiatives they did, that I'm going to talk about them a bit later, they founded this network of refugees, of network for the integration of the refugees and migrants. The name is super big. And I started leading like many initiatives. Um, yeah, this is, I believe that this is one of the most important uh, successful initiatives we have had in our city, because it was the first time that um, the academia, the government and the international cooperation and the shelters started working together. So it was super important. And later, yeah, I started being more involved. I started trying to learn more and to know more persons that were doing the same projects that I was doing at that moment. And that's how I started being in touch with humanitarian designers, and also learning more about other projects that were taking place in another countries. And at the same time, I founded a small initiative called Coffee for Peace, because the organized crime started taking control of many of the cities in Mexico. I try to raise awareness towards the importance of peace building in the city. And And later, with my friend Gabo, and well, after everything that happened last year, you know that there was a crisis in the humanitarian assistance globally. My friend Gabo, with whom I started working at Circlo, he told me this idea. He shared with me this idea of starting uh, doing again the kind of projects we were doing in the past. So that's how we started working together again in Brocoli, and started working with the network for the integration of migrants and refugees in Querétaro. And well, right now I moved to the UK, and I'm trying to do the same, and also sharing a bit about the experience I have had in Latin America uh, with the community here, and trying to also learn more in order to share like this knowledge with Latin America, and also with my peers here. So pretty much this is like my story related to humanitarian assistance. And I don't know if someone has a doubt. Are you okay?
Yes, I think we can continue. Thank you, Anna.
Super. I'm not going to be able to see your responses, but before continuing, I would like to know the knowledge you have about migration. So I'm going to share with you some statements about this topic, and if you agree, um, I would like you to raise the thumb up, to put the thumb up, and if you disagree with these statements, to put the thumb down. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, super. So the first statement would be: migrants are people who have been forced to flee their homes due to armed conflict, persecution, human rights violation, or other serious threats. What do you think? Do you think, is it true, or if not, is it not? I cannot see your responses, but
Would anyone like to speak? Please feel free to unmute yourself and
what do you
uh,
think? Uh, no one? Okay. I would think that everyone knows that this is completely false. Why? Well, there are different things. Migration refers to the movements of people from one place to another for various reasons, while refugees are people who have been forced to flee their homes due to armed conflict, persecution, human rights violation, or other serious threats. The second statement. Okay, so I'm trying also to know more. What do you know about Mexico and the situation we are facing right now? Um, so the Mexico, it is considered as a country of transit point for migrants and refugees. This means that they pass through Mexico with the aim of reaching the United States, but they don't stay here. What do you think? If anyone wants to share what you think, it would be super helpful too. Okay.
I think we got like 3 yeses.
Okay, three yeses, and the rest
Is
are
pondering.
saying okay. Okay. So it is false. This is very interesting. Like Mexico
Ah,
functions as both as transit and as a destination country. Recent restricted U.S. Migration policies have led more migrants to settle in Mexico. So yeah, maybe at the beginning it used to be mostly a country of transit, but in the latest years, it is starting being more a destination country. And yeah, the last one. The number of refugees rose from 27,100 100,000 in 2021 to 35,300,000 at the end of 2022. This is the highest figure on record. What do you think? Is this number correct? Who says it's more, it's less?
I
We've
suppose it's
got
5
a
millions,
Noor.
right?
I'm starting to suspect all of your questions are false.
I'd say more.
You would say more. Well, yeah, it's because here we are counting, we just have the data to 2022, but I'm pretty sure that in the latest year it has increased because this is actually
Mm.
true. This amount represents an increase of the 19,000 people compared to 2021, exceeding the population of Ecuador and the Netherlands. So there are tons of refugees around the world. One in every 74 people has been forced to flee. So it is a big, no, it's a big number. And the last one, in Mexico, in 2021, we reached a record of 130,000 people, making it the country with the third highest number of applications in the world. What do you think? Is it true? Is it false? Someone wants to share?
I suppose, I mean, countries that are next to countries in crisis are usually the one receiving the more uh, migration. So usually it will be like Turkey, like countries next to Syria, next to,
Mm.
so more in the Middle East. I suppose it can also happen in Africa. So 130,000 is a high number, of course. I wouldn't know if it is the third though, because I think Turkey maybe is like 1/3 of its population is. I mean, there are like very high number available around the globe, so
Yeah.
I expect a bit more.
Yeah. So again, this is the data that we like. A person from the UNCHR gave me this data yesterday, and she told me that they need to keep knowing and learning the recent numbers. But actually, this is true. The main reasons are because of the violence, the political instability, and economic crisis in countries such as Honduras, Haiti, Venezuela, and El Salvador. Also because the stricter border and migration policies in the United States that limits the onward movement. More migrants are remaining right now in Mexico and seeking protection through institutions such as COMAR, that is the organization that protect the refugees in Mexico, and supported by the organizations such as the UNCHR. And also, it's very interesting that in 2022, it ranked second with more than 118,000 individual applications. So it rose a lot. Since I arrived to the UK, tons of people have been telling me like, oh, there are no refugees in your country at all. And yeah, that's not true. We have been receiving tons the latest years.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you a bit about the context, the general context in Mexico. So Mexico acts as a country of origin, transit, destination, and return. It has received tons of asylum applications in the recent years, and we have a lot of displacement in the Americas, and this is because what I told you before, like because of the violence, economic instability, climate impact also, and the Mexico's asylum and protection system play a key role in ensuring safety, rights, and integration opportunities. So it is important also to mention that the right to asylum is seeking asylum is a fundamental right under the international law, and the states must protect people fleeing persecution, violence, or threats to life and freedom. And well, this is something that Mexico has been providing in the latest years. And yeah, the difference between migrants and refugees. Migrants are those who are willing to move voluntarily because of work, education, or their family. Meanwhile, refugees are those who are forced to flee due to persecution or serious threats. And we are receiving from both groups. Talking about the legal framework, signatory. So in 1951, Mexico signed, started being part of this refugee convention, and in 1967, we also started being part of the protocol of the protection of refugees. And the protection system is right now managed by the Mexican Commission for the Refugee Assistance, that is called the COMAR. And this started in 1970. And today, as I told you, there has been a record asylum applications. Most of the people that we are receiving are from Honduras, Haiti, Cuba, Venezuela, and El Salvador, mostly because these countries are facing a dictatorship, and also there are many organized crime bands within our countries. So even though Mexico has tons of organized crime groups too, people think that here in our country they are going to be safer. And also, well, the trends reflect a displacement across Latin America and the Caribbean. So this was pretty much about the context in Mexico. I'm going to show you. So there are some trains. Well, there is one train, this one that you can see in the right. This is called La Bestia, or the Beast, and this goes from here, from the red lines, and it crosses like the whole country. So there are many people that comes from South America that are trying to get the beast in order to cross and to get to the United States. And the red circles are the shelters, and the white lines are the principal migration routes. So people tend to cross through these routes by walking, by bus, how they are trying to find like many ways to do it. They don't care at all, and it is quite interesting. And as you can see, like here in the center, it is called El Bajío. The main or the most important movement crosses this little state that is Querétaro, where this project that I'm going to present you, it took place. So what happened in Querétaro? In 2010, like it started being just like an important place for just the transit because of the train. It was just like a corridor, and the migrants just were used to just stay for resting. But then in 2019, big groups called caravanas, I don't know if you heard about them before, started crossing the country, like big groups of maybe 500 people started crossing together, and these groups were mainly from Haiti and the Central America. When this happened, I remember that in Querétaro, the government realized that they didn't have any tools in order to provide the humanitarian assistance at that moment the migrants and refugees required. So they started asking for help, And exactly in that year, other important organizations such as HIAS and the UNCHR arrived and started doing a program related to the integration um, of refugees and migrants. And also, one of the most important shelters opened. The shelter was called Kami, and this is how Querétaro started being like in the eye of all the refugees and migrants, because we had like this program of integration. What happened after? So the German cooperation arrived, and they started doing like many things. Started working with the government. For instance, they started providing capacity building to the government. They started creating public policies and promoting the inclusion of refugees and child protection, and also working a lot with the academy and the legislative legislative group. In 2023, the network for the integration emerged, and this, as I told you before, like this network was very valuable because the main aim was to build a shared agenda with all the actors that were working together. We started identifying intersections, the needs, and the areas of opportunity in order to promote the engagement of rights. Also, we coordinated efforts to address needs. Like before that, each of the actors started just to work by themselves, like they didn't have any intention on working together. So this was like the first time that we started working, to collaborating in many initiatives. And also this strengthened the communication and the networking, and it helped a lot in the process of raising awareness with the people from Querétaro about human mobility through cultural and integration initiatives. We developed, for the last 3 years, I think we developed almost like 25 different initiatives, and many other actors started uh, getting involved. And for instance, Tent, I don't know if you have heard of Tent, but this is a show. This is the foundation of Giovanni, the yogurt of the States. The director of Giovanni is a refugee that arrived to the States, and he started having his own foundation in order to help refugees to get better jobs. So later they arrived to Mexico, and we started collaborating a lot with them. Um, Also, other groups that worked had like the will to provide scholarships to refugees started working with the universities in our cities, and we developed, I don't know, like for instance, um, we we contacted an organization that was doing like a documentary about what was going on in Gaza, and with the help of many lawyers, they were able to bring a family from Gaza, and they did like a very interesting documentary about their life and about all this process that took place last year to bring the family. And that was super cool because we were not only able to watch the documentary, but also the family went to the city, and we were able to discuss like the documentary and what is going on in Gaza with them. So most of the people in the city that doesn't have any idea about what is going on there, or about the situation of human mobility, they started being more aware. Other of the activities, for instance, that we developed last year was that, like for the International Children's Day, we did this. activity with many children, refugee children, in order to teach them about their rights. And tons of universities, well, the students of many universities help us to organize it. So yeah, we have been doing tons of activities towards this topic, and I believe that we started being one of the most important organizations in our city, and people is more aware about this topic. So this happened in 2023, from 2023, but unfortunately on 2024 we started having many challenges, just as um, most of you, I'm pretty sure, we started having like a lot of reduction in the funding, and this was because of the Ukrainian war. For instance, the UNCHR decided that Querétaro was not that important, so they closed their office, and also the German Cooperation, Hayas, most of the most important organizations closed, and they started focusing more in the borders, in the south and in the north. And well, with this, we faced many problems, but still we tried to figure out, and we tried to continue uh, working together. But it was until 2025 that things got more difficult. Like Kami, that was one of the most important shelters in our country, and that was settled in our state, started receiving funding from the UNCHR. So at the end, they needed to close. And yeah, many there was no funding at all. Many other organizations stopped working, and well, it was very interesting because at that moment, I remember that I was talking with many of the stakeholders, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. Like, we knew that this topic was very important, but we didn't have any funding and not even support from the government. So at the end, after trying to figure out, we decided to continue. And also, yeah, we found out that we were also having these other problems. Like, we found out that there are like some shelters from the state. They are not supposed to work in all the states because most of them violate the basic human rights. And we found out that the one that was settled in our city, that was not supposed to be working, was uh, bringing refugees and migrants in a randomly way. We didn't know why. And also there were many asylum delays. Like, people used to receive their certification of asylum in maybe one month, and it started taking more, like even 3 months, 4 months. So people, the refugees, weren't able to work, weren't able to continue their lives because they were not receiving the documents needed. um, they started, I don't know, for any reason, the government started limiting their access to rights, for instance, to education or basic health services. And the police started having a lot of xenophobia and racism uh, against them. Like, we talked with some migrants that told us that they were being adopted in the streets and hidden by the police without any reason. So, and also we were facing like that we didn't have any funding. But at that moment, like after being knowing like these problems, we decided that we didn't need funding, that we, if we really wanted to do something, we just needed to start working together and figuring out with the resources we had. And that's how we started thinking about this. Like, what if, against all odds, we remain resilient by co-designing strategies and working together. So at the end, we
Anna,
started. Yeah.
just sorry to interrupt, but we're like 43 minutes into the call. Just wanted to uh, also tell you that we'd like to open it up for question and answers. So if we can wrap it up in maybe 5 more minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, sure,
But I
sure.
don't know how much you've got left. So, but sorry for interrupting. Go on.
No, it's okay, it's okay. I was just going to end telling you like what we decided to do like at the end of the year. So with Brocoli, like Brocoli, the other consultancy with whom I have been working for the last year, we decided like to do this project. We started knocking doors and trying to get the academia involved. And we were able at the end to invite people from the government again, from international cooperation, the local shelters, and people that were passionate about this topic. And we developed this design methodology. It is called collective impact. I love it, and it is really powerful because it says that um, the organizations, no matter how capable they are, they cannot transform an entire system by their own, but they can do it when they have a shared vision, a strategy, or they can coordinate mechanisms that could be sustained over time. So with this in mind, we started developing, this methodology based on these 5 steps: designing a central support organization, designing a common agenda, reinforcing mutually the activities we had, having like a continuous communication, and always sharing the measurement, always measuring the strategies we were developing. So yeah, pretty much that's what we did. We started with a research, interviewing refugees and migrants, interviewing many actors from the system, and there we understood better like the good practices each of the actors were having, which challenges they were facing, which were their main strengths, the services each of them had, and which were also like the main tensions that were there among these actors. After that, we designed like a system mapping in order to understand all the actors that were involved and how we could involve them in a better way, like also understanding the interests of each other. So we mapped actors from the government, the civil society, the international cooperation, academia, the legal clinics, the migrant communities, and also journalists. And then, with all this information, we designed this workshop that took 2 days. The first day, we tried to mix them and to create to do an exercise of problem drilling in order to understand better like all these problems and the roots. We found, for instance, that there was like a disarticulation in the organization. There was a lack of shared data. There was a lot of xenophobia and also a lack of political will. And at the end, we prioritized. We decided like, okay, we have all these problems, but in which do we want to start working? What we can do with all these things that we already understood. And we decided that we wanted to work in these 3 axes. And the second day, all of us worked together for maybe six hours in order to design like which quick wins we wanted to have in the first 90 days, and which was going to be the deep work in the from the 6 months to the 12 months, and also to design some indicators and governance agreements we wanted to have in this collaboration. And we have many tangible outcomes, like tons of more actors started being involved. We designed this 1 year agenda. We defined and have clear like these indicators, and we assign responsibilities. Like it used to be just, to be honest, I was the only one leading this process, and at the end, many other actors started raising their hands in order to have like more responsibilities. And yeah, the main output was not a document; it was a shift from parallel action to coordinated intention. So pretty much this is what we did, and in 2026, I can be very proud to share that. Uh, the most successful thing we have done is the strengthening of this network for the integration. And yeah, some quick reflections. Collaboration needs architecture that, like goodwill is sufficient without a structure. Design is political. Facilitation shapes power distribution. Data is a trust mechanism. Shared evidence reduces institutional ego. Leverage points matter. Trying to fix everything collapses momentum. And design the governments, not just the service. Humanitarian innovation often overlooks coordination systems. So, no compitas as compitas is a Mexican phrase, and it means don't compete, do friends. Like, try to understand the people that are passionate about the topic you're working on, and you're going to find out that you have a big team willing to work towards the impact you want to see too in your community. And pretty much that's it. I don't know, what do you think? If someone has a question or something.
Thank you so much, Anna. I think that was brilliant. Sorry to have rushed you through towards your, like, when you were explaining your process, and as you rightly said, no compitas has compitas. I think that was a beautiful way to conclude your presentation. I open it up for question and answers. If anyone has anything that they'd love to ask Anna. If not, I do have my questions. So, but I'll give the
Sure.
mic to everyone else. Cool. So maybe I can begin. I think I have two main questions, but I can start with the one that's on the slide right now. The third one says data is a trust mechanism, and that shared evidence reduces institutional ego. I think I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. I was on a project for policy recommendations for one of the New York City offices, and it was so hard to establish that trust mechanism. So even though we knew that this is true, uh, it, the city offices or like their different departments within themselves also did not fully trust each other, and each one had a very different process or softwares or different ways of storing data, etc., that they followed, and no one had a standardized way to collect data or share data with each other. So I kind of would love to know more around your process of developing this trust mechanism of shared evidence. How did that come about?
Yeah, it's super important. It's just that I don't, when I started working like with these actors, I started interviewing most of them. It was I didn't understand. Like it was very weird because some of them had some information and the other ones had other information, and I, I didn't understand why they had different information, and it was like they were working in the same topic, but they weren't able to share like this data. And they were like at the beginning they used to say that it was a um they were worried about this data and that they wanted to protect it, and I completely agree with that because it is very sensitive. But I mean, if all of the actors are trying to find like the same solution and are working like at the same problem, why wouldn't they want to share like this information? Like I believe that sometimes you start we can start developing a solution, but if we don't understand really well like which is the main problem or which are the main challenges, the solution is going to be incomplete or is going to be uh yeah, like abstract. So after like having a conversation with all these actors and um, letting them know like the price we were paying because we didn't have like this all this information we needed, they understood and they were like open to share the data they had. But yeah, before that it was very complicated. I don't know why, like these egos are very dangerous everywhere. So I think it's very important for us to always like um share like the um I don't know, like the value of having of having this information and what like the main goal all of us have. I don't know if that answers a bit the question
Yeah.
you had.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think we just, if we could show them the value in sharing and maybe set protocols around privacy or just
Yeah,
protecting data and how it could be shared. I completely agree with you. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And again, open to anyone for questions. Uh, but otherwise, I do have a second one. But just if anyone else has a question, please go ahead.
I can have a quick question about what you're going now, what you're doing now as you moved to UK. Is that correct?
yes. So I am still in touch like with this network all the time. And I'm very proud because to be honest, like I have been leading this initiative for the last 3 years, maybe. And I was a bit afraid that if moving would represent was going to represent that this initiative was going to stop, and at the end it didn't. Like I just leave them, and yeah, like uh, I believe everyone has very clear the responsibilities each of them has. And sometimes like I am just a consultant, like they reach me when they have questions or when they don't know how to do something. And yeah, this well the network is working perfectly. I'm just getting in touch once in a week or something. And right now like I was sure that I didn't want to stop working in this area. So yeah, I started reaching other organizations that were doing something very similar. Right now there is this organization called Network for the Rights of Migrants, and they're super similar. Like they are doing tons of campaigns towards campaigns of awareness of migration here in London, and also they are designing tons of public policy. Um, they are yeah raising many campaigns, and right now I just took like a right now I am leading an initiative in order to create awareness and to do artistic initiatives, yeah, to talk about migration. It is quite interesting to be honest, because even though it's the same topic, the dynamic is completely different. And I don't know if some of you have worked in this field, like in the human um, in migration, but it is a quite it's a bit different how this behaves like in Latin America and in this context. So I'm willing just to learn and to share experiences from one side to the other.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that, Anna. Would anyone else have a question? And thank you for sharing the 12 principles document, Cedric. I was going to ask you for it. Cool. I have one last question and then we can wrap it up. I think the question, okay, I think someone else has a question.
Yeah, I have
Sophia.
a question. Yeah. Thank you for your presentation. It was super interesting. I would like to know maybe a bit more of because I've worked a bit with government in like Europe, in the north part of Europe, and I would like I feel like there the people like government are very open to participate in these type of workshops as well, and in terms of policies. What do you think, like in Latin America, are the governments like open to like in a way design intervention or like more innovative way to approach policy?
To be honest, in Latin America, no, not that much. It's very complicated. I think that something that distinct Latin America is that most of the people, mostly civil or society, civil organizations, have learned how to figure out by themselves without depending on the government. This, uh, because I don't know, their interests are completely different. But I don't know. I think that in our state, and we are very fortunate because there are not everyone, but there are some people that are willing to understand better like the topic and willing to do things. And something I have realized, like, we cannot not work with the government. Like, there are times in which most of my peers like try to just uh yeah, do the initiatives without them. I think we cannot do that, but we can try like to understand better like uh which are their interests and which interests do we have in common. um for instance, we knew that there was a, well, I think the Secretary of Education, for instance, they started having tons of children that were migrants from other countries, and because they didn't know about the topic, they didn't know what to do. Like, they didn't know how to validate their studies, so they didn't know how to help them to integrate in the schools. And when we found out that they were having like this problem, we uh, I don't know, like, we propose them like an initiative that um, was like was responding to their interest, but also to ours, and that's how at the end they agreed to collaborate with us. But yeah, I think it's about learning how to and learning about the interest they have. Um, yeah, that has been like one of my main learnings the last years.
And in terms of like results, do you think they are, because sometimes I feel like these people are very like kind of result oriented, or
Yeah.
they want to see things in the short term.
Yes, that's true. But I think like uh they have seen, like, they have told us many times before that most of the things that we have designed, that we have done in the past, even without funding, have been better than the initiatives they have done with funding. So I think the
Oh, wow.
results we have had are very clear, and um, that has helped in order to get their trust and to yeah, to start working together. Also, another thing is that you cannot expect them like to, I don't know, to get to do things without knowing exactly they what you want them to do. Like we need to be very precise and very
Mhm.
punctual in the things we need from them, and also to
Mhm.
understand their constraints. Like, oh, they can help us with this, and I don't know, with this resource in this day, and just that. And yeah, if they have that clear, it has been also easier for them and for us to collaborate together.
Mhm.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you, Sophia, for your question. And thank you so much. I think we're a couple minutes over time. I just want to thank everyone who's joined today. Super grateful for joining into this conversation. And also thanking Anna for sharing all of her wonderful work today, like people like you who are bridging the gap between design and humanitarian fields. It's beautiful to see how your work helps do that. And we look forward to more conversations. Please, everyone, feel free to reach out to Anna with any questions or just connect to our conversation. I will definitely be in touch. And thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you so much. Oh, here
Thank
I
you so
didn't
much.
see, but here is I. Anai has been one of the best stakeholders I have worked with. She is from the UNCHR, so thank you, Anai, for coming, and thank you for being part of this space. And thank you, everyone.
Hi, thank you for joining, and
Thank you.
I, Camila, hope to see you in our next talk. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.